It's very common for people to see more rib flare on one side of the body more than the other, and this is because humans are naturally asymmetrical. I have a lot more content as to why we are naturally asymmetrical and the implications of that, which I will link up above and down below in the description. But the purposes of this video are to show you what you should do if you have more rib flare on the left versus the right side. We tend to see relatively more rib flare on the left versus the right side for these natural asymmetrical reasons. A big reason is because of our diaphragm, which is larger on the right side of the body. And because most people are right-handed, we're tending to shift more over to the right side. So air from the right diaphragm, in this case, goes and fills up the left lung, and it opens up this left side a little bit more, so these left ribs get more flared. It's a very, very general overview, but that's why we see more people, significantly more, with left versus right rib flare. But that's not to say we don't see more right side rib flare in some cases. We absolutely do. It's just more common to see the left, and I'll address that later. Now, typically, the more someone's ribs flare on one side, they're going to bring the other side forward eventually with it. But you're still going to have more rib flare on one side than the other. Let's say that the left ribs keep flaring, then the right side is eventually going to follow it more and more. This is generally associated with a pelvis that's tipped forward in space. And the more someone's pelvis is tipped forward on one side than the other, then typically what you see is, let's say my left hip is more forward, that's going to push my left ribs up more. That's generally what we see. Let's take my left ribs. If my left ribs flare more and more and more and more and more, eventually my right ribs are going to become more flared with them, but my left ribs are still more flared. This can also be paired with a hip that's more forward on that side. So in many cases, but not all, you have a left hip that's more forward, and the more forward that left hip goes, the more those ribs get flared on that left side. So generally what we want to do on the left side is facilitate those deep abs and close off the left side. So we can do that with muscles like the internal obliques and the transverse abs, which are more of our deeper abs, which allow these ribs to come down and for the pelvis to rotate underneath us. If we do that, that will also subsequently help us expand our right side more than our left, which will help us even out that rib flare. If you haven't seen my video on what to do if you have rib flare on both sides, I would check that out. I'll link that here. But I would look at that first, and that's a good first step for most people. Now, there's a couple simple things that you can do to help improve your ability to close off this left side and get that hip to rotate back. The first exercise, which is that short seated exercise with the right arm reach, helps turn us to the left side. Now, in that video, I talk about the importance of using a balloon, because a balloon will facilitate a nice long exhale. If we get a nice long exhale, the internal obliques are muscles that are more responsible for a forced extended exhale. And because they also rotate the hips back and pull the ribs down, this is going to be a really helpful thing for us to be able to get those left ribs to come down and for the right chest wall to open up upon that subsequent inhalation. So I highly recommend you use some sort of external resistance to get yourself to get that full exhale, because most people have no idea what a full exhale feels like, which is a necessary step when addressing many different types of rib flare. So the first exercise I use in that video is to give a right arm reach, because if I'm holding the balloon in the left hand, or the straw, the external resistance in that left hand, and I reach with my right arm, that's going to push me over to the left side, close off my left side more so. That's why we start with that right arm reach in many cases. And that can be an effective exercise if you have more left rib flare. Here's another exercise you can use to close off those left ribs, open up the right ribs, and also rotate the left hip back. This is the Hemi 90-90 high oblique sit breathing. To set up for this, we're gonna be in this sort of Hemi 90-90 position where we have a straight line directly out right here from the left side down to the left knee, and that knee is bent at a 90-degree angle. This right leg is straight out in front of us, and that's also bent at a 90-degree angle. Now, Trevor's gonna get his arm just far enough away from him, which he can side bend to the left side and maintain a very slight bend in the elbow, and that'll really help open up his right side. So it'll feel like he's kind of down here and really opened up on the right side. So you may need to adjust how far away that right arm is from you to get that passive stretch in his right side. So we should feel a stretch right down here. It's not gonna be too crazy just yet. Just a little passive stretch is all he's looking for right away. Now, to initiate this, we're going to push down subtly with the left knee, keeping our hips under us. We don't wanna arch or flare the ribs. We make sure the ribs stay down. So push this left knee down and kind of drag the floor to you. Have the intention to drag the floor towards you. That's going to pull the left knee in a little bit and hopefully engage your left inner thigh muscle. If you don't, we're going to get an adjustment for that in just a second. We should feel that left inner thigh. And now all you need to do is make sure your head is nice and neutral, looking straight ahead. It'll feel like you're slightly side bent this way, which is normal. It's okay. And exhale through your mouth. Get all the air out, and you're gonna feel your abs engage on this crunch side right here, the left side. You're gonna pause, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and then inhale through your nose, maintaining that tension in the left side abs, and you're gonna feel your right side stretch out. Exhale again. Feel those left abs. Get a full exhale. It's really important. Longer and softer is always better than short and more forceful. So 8 to 10 seconds is ideal. Inhale through the nose, maintaining that ab tension, keeping your mouth closed, and it should be a silent, relaxed inhale for about 5 seconds. So to summarize, left knee down and in to feel the left inner thigh, and the right side should be open, and as you exhale, feel the left side abs. As you inhale, feel the right side stretch out. If you're having trouble feeling your inner thigh on that back side right there, take a little squishy object, put it underneath that knee. A little towel rolled up, a small pillow, or something like a pad can work, and now you should have more leverage to push down and pull back with. If you want to get a bigger stretch on these abs right here, then you can add a forward reach with that arm right there, but you just gotta make sure that you're not leaning far forward as you do that. And with each subsequent exhale, you should be able to reach a little bit more. Don't overdo it, just 1 inch at a time. So I recommend you start off without the reach, but if you are gonna add the reach, make sure that when you do it, you're not doing that. If your ribs are gonna flare on that left side or the side that's crunched, that's not good. So you gotta make sure the reach is nice and subtle and progressive as you go through it. It's almost as if I had my hand on Trevor's back right here. He can keep pushing into my hand and protracting or reaching his arm forward while still keeping his ribs back. Now you can have more rib flare on the right side, and this usually means that we have a right chest wall that's being tilted up and we're side bent to the left a little bit. If you have more flared right ribs, then chances are you have an additional layer of compensation beyond the normal natural human asymmetrical patterning. To improve this asymmetry, you still want to get that full exhale and you still want to get the abs involved, but you also want to open up the left upper chest wall as well to help create some symmetry again. So to get the right rib cage to come down and drive some air into the upper left chest, what we can do is get in this hook line position so Trevor can get his feet flat on both sides right here. And we have a very light band, a long tubular band like this. And the amount of grip, the narrowness of your grip will vary depending on you as an individual, but generally about shoulder width apart to start if you have a nice light band is good. So we're gonna start this by reaching this right arm down, which is gonna side bend us to the right side. It's gonna drop the right shoulder. Now we're gonna take the other part of the band and imagine we're drawing a sword out of a sheath and we're gonna go right behind us like that. We shouldn't feel any weird upper trap or any junk in here. If you have your thumb down like that, that's where you want to be. So you might feel some low trap muscles in the back of your shoulder blade on the left side here engaged. Now, keeping your low back flat, same breathing sequence. Exhale through your mouth, feel those right side abs engage more. And then inhale through your nose, making sure that you can feel your left chest expand. And if you want to add a little extra to this, you can take your head and rotate it slightly to the right side. Only again without feeling any junk within your neck or anywhere in your upper trap area. With more right rib flare, you definitely could just hold the balloon in your right hand, reach with the left hand to help turn you right. It would just be important that because we have that natural underlying asymmetry, being able to then finish off shifting back to the left, which most people are going to be limited in ultimately, is a helpful thing. So that way we can be able to shift from side to side and then not end up in a situation where we now just have more left rib flare.